Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. To my right is a man who does not need an introduction to this channel. Everyone knows this iconic face at this point. This is Chad Chasm. Are you the president, the CEO, the owner, or all those things of Analog Productions, Quality Pressings, and Acoustic Sounds?
I'd say all those things, but I have 150 people that I couldn't do without. So
In Salinas.
yeah, Salina.
Well, you have a great
they pronounce it Salina, but
oh, is that right?
yeah, you would think it would be Salina, but I'm not from here. I'm from Louisiana, but they say Salina, so Salina it is.
They can have it. But Chad has done, he's got so many things going on. You have the Atlantic series, the 75 series, which are 45 RPM cuts. I'm going to ask about that. You have your wonderful HQRs, UHQRs. You were nice enough to send me this, which I will compare with an original pressing. I'm kind of behind. You were also nice enough to send me a few things from your Return of the Prestige series.
Oh yeah.
And you were, I have a few questions about these. I have a couple more here. I don't know where they are, but I'm curious. I mean, I watched your, you've done a few other interviews. What are the next titles, if you can say, in the Atlantic series?
Okay. The Atlantic, we're shipping these right now. This is the Genesis, The Lamb Lies Down. So it was a double album, so it had to be a 4-disc 45 set. So, I mean, we've never made a jacket like this. I mean, look at this.
Wow. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah. It's
That's
like
a UHQR?
no,
Yeah.
but it's as thick as a UHQR. So this is the spine, and it's got four sleeves.
Wow.
Yeah. We only had the rights on the Phil Collins till the end of the year, so we had to place our order. Alice Cooper, it's gonna frost some people's cookies, man. I mean, this thing sounds unbelievable. This Ray Charles, his first album on Atlantic.
Very cool.
Real classic, killer album. Otis Redding, Dock of the Bay, another classic.
Do you know what your next jazz titles will be yet? You've done the Coltrane and the Mingus.
Yeah, hold on a second. Oh man, that Mingus sounds so good.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we did a Coltrane. After the Alice Cooper, Otis Redding, and Ray Charles will be Crosby, Stills, and Nash, mastered by Bernie Grundman. David Crosby, if I can only remember my name, mastered by Bernie Grundman, and Matchbox 20 by Ryan K. Smith. And then in March is the Coltrane Giant Steps, Coltrane My Favorite Things, and Stone Temple Pilots Core.
What is it about 45? Why does 45 sound better than 33? Does it always sound better than 33?
Yeah, it pretty much does. I mean, it pretty much always sounds at least a bit better to a lot better.
Why is that?
Well, it spins around. You have more land you can cut the groove. There's like when you get to the inner grooves, they're always way more distorted. Like the first song on an album will always sound better than the last song on the album. And the last two songs on the albums usually start distorting because of the inner groove distortion. That's why, the last song on the side of a record, a CD might sound better than the last song on the side of the record.
Wow.
So when you're cutting at 45, you're usually staying on the outside of the record and you got more space. You're not having to compete and put all that music in this amount of space. You know what I mean? Now you're able to put half of the music in the same amount of space.
So are the grooves literally wider?
Yeah, I think they don't have to worry about what's going to come later when they're cutting the record later. They don't have to be as concerned. But all you have to do is listen and compare, and then and you can hear the difference. And it really don't matter why. It just matters that it does. And, to me, it's like there's a difference. We wouldn't go through all this extra expense and all this extra time, and you have to cut a whole nother record. You have to make a gatefold out of it. It doubles the cost on almost everything, but it's worth it. Our customers feel it's worth it. Sounds better. And, a lot of these records, there's 33 versions out there, so, we're here to make a final version that'll give you something that sounds better. You know what I mean?
What is it about your jackets, your pressings, everything about your product has always been really, really consistent. And you've been doing this quite a long time. What is the key to that kind of quality control for so long through so many diverse genres and formats? What is it?
You just can't get cheap, man. That's all. You find out who the best jacket maker is. You go to them, you pay the price. It's going to be more. It's going to hurt a little bit. It's going to make your product cost more. It's going to cost you more, but it's the best. You want a Timex or you want a Rolex? I mean,
yeah, I've heard you use that before.
We have Stoughton make them. Pretty much all our jackets are made by Stoughton. Every now and then we'll have somebody else make them. We know the other good manufacturers. There's other good ones, but none of them really beat Stoughton, And so, I'm not gonna, commit myself to Stoughton for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? But because I don't know what will happen, but right now that's who we use and that's who we like. And we think they make the best jackets and we work with them. And then
how do you, all your pressings that I have, they've always been super flat. The jackets are beautiful. They maintain this cover of Lush Life. I have an original pressing. That's a straight on replica of the original pressing. But how do you keep the actual records so consistently flat and clean and they never look strange? They sound great.
Right. So you just take the approach that you want everything you do to be in the highest quality possible. You know what I mean? And you don't take the cheap, quick shortcuts. You go for you want the best. Some albums are harder than others. You scan them and you got to work. We have to relay all the typeset. Some people just do the scan and then use that as the final, to make the jacket from. But sometimes you see a little moire or a dot matrix in there when you do that. We retype everything and then we got to proof it again, type each word again, and you have to find the exact font. And sometimes it's not easy to find the exact font. Sometimes you have to find one really, really close. So we go from finding the absolute original album, the best album cover we can find, scanning it on the highest quality scanner, retypesetting everything, slowly proofread it, get proofs and samples. And that's what we do with the jacket. We use the best, we demand the original master tapes. And pretty much 95, 90, 96, 7%, we get the original master tapes. Sometimes all they can find is a one-off non-EQ'd tape copy, safety copy, or a EQ'd safety copy. And then we look at that, we go, wow, let's look at the album, and we exhaust ourselves trying to find the original. And if we, truly believe there's no original, we finally checked everywhere we could and looked under every rock. And we've been convinced that this is it, a one-off safety copy. And then we cut it. And if we're able to beat the original with that, which a lot of times we are able to, most of the time we are, then we go forward. But, we pause, but we don't want to keep a great album that there's no master in existence left off the market if we think we can still beat the original and people want this album. So, I just make an executive decision sometimes. Most of the time, the one-off tape copy with the mastering engineers we use can still beat the original. And if that's the case, then we go for it.
What do you mean by beat the original? How do they better the originals in your estimation?
Well, sometimes the originals are hard to beat. A good job's hard to beat. A bad job's easy to beat. We feel like we beat them most of the time, and at the worst case, we're just as good, maybe just a little better, is the worst case. But sometimes people, they're real proud of their originals, or their system sounds better with the record they have. You know what I mean? The synergy of the record and their record and their system, or that's the way they heard it forever. We start with the master tape. We start with the best mastering engineers: Bernie Grundman, Kevin Gray, Ryan K. Smith, Chris Bellman. We used to use Doug Sachs a lot. We have his mastering facility now, the mastering lab. We also hired a guy named Matt Luthans that's in-house that works here, and he's starting to cut. And with Doug Sachs' custom tube electronics, one-of-a-kind signature system and signature sound.
Wow.
And Matt's been working with Kevin Gray, learning from Kevin. So we're also using Matt, but
so you're the final arbiter on each one of these things. Do you take test pressings home and listen to them? And
yeah, I mean, that's all we've been listening to Gaucho all day. We have two turntables right here, where we have two Techniques right there, and a Chris Muth. That's a mastering console that was once upon a time was, I think, in Sterling Sound. And so we use that to A/B it. We can push back and forth to A/B the record against the original.
Are those some sort of SP10 variants?
It's an SL 1200G made in Japan. An SL 1200G made in Japan.
And what are your cartridges?
The Shure 97.
And what are your playback monitors?
Oh, I have Doug Sachs ATCs.
Oh, wow.
So they're very, very revealing. And then I have an Air Force One in the other room. So sometimes we'll go in there and listen, This
is the Acoustic Sounds official playback system, I guess.
Well, this is my office, and this is what I do my A-Bing on. But we have a sound room, a dedicated sound room right in the next room. It's got an Air Force One with some nice electronics and speakers, and we'll listen to that, as well. So again, you start with the best original LP copy. You start with the best original LP jacket. You send the original LP, you scan that jacket, you send it to the printing press, you send the original album to the mastering engineer. They can study it and see how they can improve upon it. And then when you get it back, then you have the best mastering engineers with the original master tape. We have one of the best plating facilities at Quality Record Pressings. And then we have a great pressing plant with really good press operators and quality control people. I charge more for our records. And the reason I charge more for our records is when I come against something that makes you want to cheap out and save money, that you grab yourself and you say, hey, that's why you charge what you do, Chad, for when these things that come up don't force you to go cheap, don't force you to compromise. A lot of people are reissuing, wackadoodle music, like just a little bit of some really far out there stuff. And I know a lot of people like that, but that's really not. I kind of think that I'm trying to do what most of my customers want. Most of them. I think they want smooth, straight ahead, accessible jazz with melody that sound great, great performance, great sound. Famous artists, Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong, Ben Webster. They want but that's what I want. So some of these labels, they have their own thing, and quality isn't the number one thing in their on their mind. A lot of music like real heavy metal or real avant-garde or real busy music, you can't hear the ticks and the pops in there anyway. It's compressed, it's loud, so they can even get away with more stuff. And a lot of the people that are listening to that aren't as demanding as the people. When you listen to a classical record, which we do a lot of classical, we do a lot of quiet jazz, you can't get away with having noisy pressings or ticks and pops, So, what we're doing is more acoustic music, more live to 2-track, less compressed, less multi-channel, less loud and compressed. Concord is making a more of an effort, and they're doing things right. They hired me for the Acoustic Sounds Contemporary series. And, I'm really good friends with John Koenig, who I've been working with. Our first jazz reissue was Bill Evans' Waltz for Debbie and Art Pepper, Sonny Rollins' Way Out West, and Art Pepper Meets the Rhythm Section. And we had Doug Sachs cut it, and that was in 92. Well, we got to be friends with Lester Koenig. Lester Koenig had died, but Lester Koenig's son is John Koenig. So we'd have John come to the mastering sessions, and I'm good friends with John. So when Concord hired me, Concord saw the success of the Acoustic Sounds Verve series, and they're like, "Listen, Chad, we want to do something just like this, and we know you really love contemporary, and you are familiar with contemporary, and we would like to do a series, Acoustic Sounds Contemporary series." So I'm like, "Well, man, let's do it. Let's do it." And, I had some demands. Hey, we got to use the original master. We're going to use Bernie Grundman because Bernie Grundman used to work at Contemporary. We're going to consult with John Koenig. We're going to, have Bernie do it. We're going to have Stoughton. We're going to press it at QRP. And these are all the things they wanted. They will go, "Well, that's what we want," So, and then, I get a little bit of a break when I buy it from them. We buy so many, and and then I get a little consultant fee, and not a whole lot, but the Verve, the Acoustic Sounds Verve series, and the Acoustic Sounds Contemporary series, they came to me both because they wanted it to be done the way we do Analog Productions. But they're getting better, and we work with them. We're working with them. We buy from all the labels. We work with them. We know the bad plating places. We know the bad pressing plants. And some of these pressing plants, if they're pressing some hard metal or really loud, jazz that's just busy, a real hard listen type jazz, real hard bebop, or real avant-garde, you don't have to. You can get away with some less than perfect pressings.
Well, I have all these questions from my Jazz Vinyl Lovers group, and the first one kind of feeds into what you're saying. Will there be a continuation of the Acoustic Sounds Verve Impulse and Contemporary series?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm looking at we got Soulville coming pretty soon. I forget.
Oh, that was one of the questions. Wow.
This one, I just listened to the test pressing cut by Ryan K. Smith. I mean, dude, this will unbelievable.
Any idea when that might be available?
It shouldn't be that much longer, maybe
Wow.
3 months.
What
Uh,
about any chance to get a Riverside series or additional prestige releases?
uh, possibly, possibly, possibly. We're working. There's one more. A lot of labels are coming to ask me to do this for 'em, you know what I mean? And another label asked me to do a series uh that we haven't announced yet, but there's good news to come. There's good
Wow.
news to come.
Are we past the lockjaw, the bottleneck of COVID pressing? Is pressing back to normal? Can you
Yeah,
meet demand
yeah,
now?
yeah. That's a good question, and it surely has. Uh, it went from, like I started in 1986, and vinyl has always been like this, and and then COVID was like throwing gasoline on it and went like this. And then about 2 years later, it went, but it's still like it was still on that trajectory, like it was here and then it went to here and then back here, not back here or back, not even a little bit higher, like it was the same trajectory, but they had a spike for a couple of years. And that really threw off a lot of people, man, because, people knew they couldn't get their records back on the press for a long time. So what they would do is they would press more. Well, when everybody's pressing more, then it takes longer for you to get your record pressed. And it's a, what do you call that? Problem on top of problem. It really it just kept getting worse. Then what happened was everybody ended up over ordering, and I don't think it was just with records. I think they had all those ships out at the Long Beach uh, and LA ports, where shipping and the containers went like 5 to 10 times more money because of supply and demand. And everybody, like I think Walmart was ordering too many like sweatpants, and it's just going to take a while before things even out. And everybody ended up being overstocked. And now everybody's like, whoa, we're pressing just what we need.
That's great.
In fact, we're pressing less than we need because we don't want to get stuck with anything. A lot of pressing plants that opened, a lot of pressing plants, a lot of new presses were sold.
Really?
A lot of added pressings. The smartest one out of all is Don at RTI. He has 9 presses. He's had 9 presses forever. And he's steady Eddie, man. He been doing it for 40 years plus.
How many presses do you have? And I know you bought a bunch more.
Well, I mean, I have 16, but I still can't outperform Don, with 9. So here I am worried about more and more presses when I should have just been making sure those not, like, let's just say, taking 9 and making those 9 put out, so more is not always the answer.
Well, your QC is so consistent, as I was saying earlier. It's
Well,
always
I think,
consistent.
I think our QC is at the top. I mean, we love RTI's pressings are great. They're more efficient. They can make more records. You know what I mean? They've been doing it longer. They know how to maintain their machines. We're like on our 14th, 13th year.
Wow.
They're on their 40th something year,
Let me ask you, I just thought of this. If anybody knows vinyl quality, you do. Was there any difference in the actual vinyl formulations in the 50s and the 60s versus today? Was there something different about the vinyl? Because I'm a person who loves early pressings, and obviously I have horns and tubes, so it's sort of works with that. But was there any difference in the vinyl formulation back then?
Well, they've changed. They tweak it and change it and try to improve it all the time. You know what I mean? But you also don't know is how much regrind, how much recycled vinyl were they throwing in. You just don't know. But I think the vinyl was a lot different back then. But I don't think it was better. I think that the vinyl now is better. But there's many different kinds of vinyl people can buy now. So some people go to the cheapest place to buy their vinyl, or it might be an expensive place, but their vinyl, there's a lot of different qualities of vinyl, or they can make it differently, and different places do it differently. And maybe some aren't as clean as others. There's a lot of things. I mean, it takes, chemical engineers there's a lot that goes into it. It has to press well. So now it might have been the mastering you're liking. It might not have been just the vinyl you're liking. I doubt it's the vinyl. It's more, maybe it was a good mastering engineer and you like the originals to your taste, on your system, to your ear. There's a lot of that goes on. I want to take each album, one at a time, take one album and compare it to the original at a time. Because
that's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the new, to me, the new, I haven't, I don't have that many original Blue Notes. I mean, I have enough to where I could do some A-B in.
And one of the guys asked if you would ever consider pressing Argo titles or Bethlehem titles. Have you ever thought about that?
Argo, a lot of the tapes on the Argo, I mean, we're not talking the classical Argo, right?
I'm not,
yeah,
no.
Because Decca Uni owns Argo, the classical label, and man, the sound of some of those Argo classicals will just knock you out. But I wouldn't. There's only a couple of the classical Argos, the Rossini 1 through 6 string, and the 6 through 12 string on Academy St. Martin's in the Field. Those two, they're tempting to reissue.
What about jazz, like some of the early Ahmad Jamal titles?
Right, those, a lot of tapes aren't available.
Really?
We tried. Yeah.
Huh, what about like Bethlehem or some of these other really tiny labels?
I haven't been really blown away. I haven't played enough Bethlehems that make me want to reissue.
I hear what you're saying. What is the hardest, most critical step in the process of pressing an audiophile quality record?
The most critical thing is to probably keep your in tune with every step and make sure that you didn't miss a step. You know what I mean? And make sure when you finally get your final test pressing, or maybe not your final test pressing, but you get the test pressing, make sure it's better than the original. You know what I mean?
And it's got to help that you do everything in-house. You remaster them, you press them.
We do everything in-house except make the album jackets. We have a full-on printing company that can print the inserts, they can print the labels, they can print pretty much everything. In fact, our printer could print the jackets. But man, I tell myself I got to go to bed. I got to go to bed sometime at night. I can't do it all or control it all. So I stopped at the record jackets. Like I have a printing, a really, like a really valuable, expensive press that could press the jackets, but you have to tweak the machine. You can't just turn it back to a small piece of paper. You know what I mean? You want to leave it. So I don't mess with the machine because we press so many variable type jobs on the machine. So we haven't made the album jacket, and most of our mastering we go out for, Bernie, Kevin, Ryan, Sterling, Bernie, or Kevin, uh, and so, but we're starting to do more mastering in-house now. So yeah, but everything else we control, like the design, the artwork, the plating, the pressing, the QC, the listening to test pressings, the comparing the test pressings.
Keith Ennis on my vinyl group asked, Chad has referred doing more modern releases. Can you share any thoughts on who or when? I guess people who are alive.
Yeah, I mean, we're I'm I'm kind of stuck in the mud. You know what I mean? I like dinosaur rock, and I
Me
like,
too.
I like 20s, 30s, 40s blues. I like 50s, 60s, 70s jazz. You know what I mean? And 50s, 60s, 70s pop, classic rock. Now there's some exceptions on new bands that I like, but very few. But the one thing I'll admit, and it's a lot of times my customers, I have been listening to more and more later releases like this Stone Temple Pilots Core and Purple. And we got some other new things that a lot of these things don't meet my standard in like what I like, but I'm trying to get over myself and do what people want. It doesn't always have to be what I like. So I am changing a bit. I am learning about more new music, but it's still got to somewhat sound good. That's what my guys want. There was a couple Atlantic titles. I mean, we were going to get some really big, huge modern releases, but they would only give us a high-res digital file that was compressed. They're like, the artist, he's our biggest artist.
Wow.
You got to use this file. That's all you can get. And we did a test pressing, and we're like, well, it was better than the CD, but it was like a black CD, 12-inch black CD. You know what I mean? Like that's what it sounded
Right.
like. I am willing to compromise on my high standard of what I like it to sound like, because a lot of these, once they got in the late 90s and early 2000s, sometimes most of the time they compressed it. You know what I mean?
Have you ever heard Mastodon, the metal group from the West Coast? I think you'd dig them, man. They're like
Really?
metal, but like through a Pink Floyd filter. And their vinyl does not sound good. I don't know what they're doing, but they're really, I mean, that's a trippy Mastodon, trippy kind of a headband. I bet you'd like them.
Well, I've been listening to a little bit more Soundgarden, and I've always liked Nirvana, and there's at least Nevermind sounds great. So that I'm getting up with the times. You know what I mean? If you like the band or not, that's subjective. But sound to me isn't really that subjective. Now I know if you like the music and you like the band, then you like the sound. You think it sounds a little better.
Oh, so you're saying you have to like the music and the sound of the record before you'll repress it?
Well, that's pretty much the way I've been doing it.
Huh.
But now I understand there's people that want that 90s and 2000s. I'm listening to it more. I'm gonna try my best to find some diamonds in the rough, and I'm gonna compromise my standard a little bit, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do any of it, in my opinion.
Right.
But I am listening to the customer. I know that's what they want. I'm gonna give them more of it, but it's gonna be selective.
Now I had a few people who not everyone likes your UHQR boxing, and they love the records. They don't care for the packaging. I I guess they'd like you to lose the spine and do a smaller box. What are your thoughts on that? Would you ever do a second UHQR without the larger format boxing and everything?
Um, we we've thought about it. The reason we've thought about it mostly is it takes so long and it's all handmade.
Really? It's all
Yeah.
handmade.
Oh yeah. And I mean that's a solid wooden dial. You know, the spine is a solid wooden dial.
Right.
And so it's very costly. A lot of people tell me they don't want us to, they say, don't listen, don't change. But I'm not, I've got to be open minded or try to be as open minded as possible. But if we change, it starts with, it'll help us get the jackets faster. And yes, I mean, we could make them a little smaller. I mean, it's all been thought about. It's just kind of hard to, change a series from one thing to another. Now, Mobile Fidelity did it. They had telescope type boxes where you have to pop off and it's two pieces. And they had like a soft touch. They've changed. Nobody committed suicide over their change.
That's fine. I don't want to grill you about that. Rob Johnson, my group, said lots of CTI albums could use a modern reissue. That is really the truth. Nobody's done CTI. Those are amazing pressings, beautiful gate folds. Would you ever consider trying to get an option to do those?
I wouldn't, but if whoever the label that owns the company that owns that label, if they came to me and said they wanted to hire me to do a CTI series, I wouldn't say no. But on Analog Productions, I'm not familiar with enough of those that they don't really. I know people ask about those,
Some good
but I'm
George
not
Benson
willing.
titles, Milt Jackson. There's a lot of great stuff on there, and they're almost impossible to find now.
Yeah, we'll let sometimes, Ken, what I say is we got to leave something for some bones for the newcomers to pick at. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let somebody else do that.
You're a blues guy. Would you ever reissue more prestige Bluesville titles or Moodsville titles even? I love those things.
Oh, I love them too. All I can say is sign up for our email newsletter and our YouTube channel because they'll be, hey, there's some shit around the corner, man. I love the Bluesville. This one's kind of jazz, but it's got Alberta Hunter on it.
Wow.
And Victoria Spivey. This thing sounds incredible.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I have the pretty much the Bluesville.
Wow.
Yeah, Rudy Van Gelder.
Right.
Jimmy Lee Robinson's on here and King Curtis. Jimmy Lee, we recorded Jimmy Lee. Look at that. This is from 1963. I was 1 year old. KC Blues, KC Douglas, the Mercury Blues.
Wow.
The song that it's not on here, but it's the song that Steve Miller made a hit out of, Mercury Blues. No, well, we love blues. Another thing is we recorded 21 years of blues concerts. We have Tab Benoit, we have Gatemouth Brown, Bobby Blue Bland.
Really? Wow.
And yeah, we just listened to. We had Tony Joe White play.
Wow.
Yeah, we just listened to some of our recordings on that, and I mean I just played it, and it blew me away.
So will you put those to vinyl at some point?
Yeah, we're it's gonna be a while, but that's the plan.
Why don't you or the label open a retail store and visitors museum there in Salina? That would be a hit, man.
Well, it's not the first person. Last night somebody texted me, "Hey man, I want to come to Salina and get a tour in March." And then I've been thinking about having. See, we had our Blues Masters for 21 years, and I stopped it because it's just a lot of work. We'd lose about 30,000 a year. It didn't really bother me because, that's my hobby. Some people have a fast car or boat. I'm more, this is my boat. This
Right.
is how and, but it was the time it was taken. I thought about just rebranding the Blues Masters because we'd have 2 nights of blues in the church. We'd get Cajun chefs from where I'm from in Louisiana. They cook etouffee, boiled shrimp, smoked pigs, red beans, gumbo, etouffees, all the good Cajun food.
Mm.
And we have people flying from all over the world, and the musicians and the people that came stayed at the same hotel. They'd have all night jams after the concert. We'd all eat
Wow.
together. We'd do recordings. We'd do direct to disc during the day. And Affirmer's been to a lot of them, and people loved it. I loved it. But I'm going to tweak that idea. Instead of a blues concert in Kansas, it's a world record convention with blues, or world record convention with music, live music. See, because let's say somebody in New York, they're not going to want to fly to Salina to see a concert. They can see concerts in New York. But although they can't really see what we presented, but it wasn't enough to make them come. But if they could come browse through the best collection albums in the world, all the original classical we have, all the original jazz, all the original pre-owned records, we probably have 40,000 different titles here. They can come do that and see records being made, records being recorded, mastered, tapes being made, plating being done, direct-to-disc being made. They can get a tour of Acoustic Sounds and get a tour of my office. They can see all the high-end audio we have, all the vintage audio we have.
So this is something you've already been thinking about.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Bremer's been begging me to do it.
Yeah.
I know it's a good idea. It's just it takes all the little things, ideas I have. When I want to do something, I want to do it right,
Wow.
And yeah,
Um,
we'll
would
do
you
it.
ever would you ever consider opening an Acoustic Sounds distribution hub in Europe for UHQR and other titles?
Well, we do have a customer, Mike at 45 Audiophile, 45 Michael Ludwig's. He's we set him up and he's been doing pretty good, man.
Oh,
You know?
really? He's distributing your records over there. Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's
He's a
great.
YouTuber. He's got a great YouTube channel.
He does.
Yeah.
That's why I wear these crazy glasses and as an
Oh,
homage to
yeah.
him. That's what I
Hey,
do it for.
hey,
Um,
maybe I should get some too because I want my channel to grow. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. No,
he's great. His
yeah.
stuff looks so great. I'm not aware of this, but Wayne Wickard, one of our most consistent guys in my group, what is causing the quality issues in Atlantic 75 series when there are a few other issues? What is he talking about?
For me to really answer that question, I'd want to know, what title and who pressed it. We have gotten some returns where people have, but it's not that many, and we replace them. So, and after the record's made, was it in a warehouse for a while that was warm? Because we had pressed a lot of them during the summer, and we were just waiting for the time to announce it. I haven't figured, I don't really know, but I don't think, that it's like this
widespread or anything. Yeah,
right like
right.
it's maybe more than normal, but that's about all it is. I think is more than normal. Um,
Wayne also asked, if both are alive, do you think Lightning Hopkins could outpick Tony Rice?
well,
That's an Art
it
Dudley
ain't
question
about
almost.
it ain't about out picking to me. Lightning Hopkins could play one note on a beat up broken guitar and have more soul than he. First of all, he's picked my favorite musician, so there's only one answer for me. Now, Tony Rice is probably an unbelievable guitar player, and he could probably play more notes and faster than Lightning, but that ain't why I listen to Lightning. Uh, he's my favorite.
Jean-Michel Reiser Beethoven has suggested, and I think it's pretty good. Would you ever do all 5 of the Paul Winners records from contemporary, or all of the Shelly Men at the Blackhawk series in a box?
Now the Shelly Man, I don't think it'd be in a box, but we are going to do some of the Shelly Man from the Blackhawk. We've already made test pressings. Sounds amazing.
Oh, Nina Simone UHQRs. That would be something.
Yeah, I don't think so. Her first album, which we reissued, which I love. I mean, her first album is the best. But a lot of the Phillips are really good. I guess that was on Bethlehem. We did one Bethlehem. We're out of that.
I got you.
No Nina on UHQR.
What's your take on how the reissue industry has imitated your model, i.e. original sources, select mastering engineers, Stoughton jackets, 180-gram vinyl? You're the dad on the block.
I don't really.
And they often don't meet your standards.
Well, I'm all about. I want the best version of my favorite records, and I can't reissue them all. Okay, I can't get the license for them all. I don't have the money or the time to do them all, and not every label is going to give me everything I ask for. So I don't mind. I love it when somebody does it right. I have no problem. Like what do they say, that imitation and flattery, the best form of flattery and all that. I agree. I believe in that. I have no problem, because they might reissue one of my favorite records. If it's basically, I'm reissuing these records because I want to hear my favorite band sound better than I ever heard. I want to hear my favorite album sounding better than I've ever heard it before. That's the whole motivation. So I'm not going to be able to do all of my favorite bands. If Warner Brothers, wants to do one, and they see where I mastered, and they see where I pressed, and they see where I made the jacket, and they call me, I'll tell them. And it does seem that a lot more of the major labels are catching on. There's still a lot of half-assed stuff out there, but there's a lot more good stuff. And I welcome it. I appreciate it, because we'll also sell it. And if they do it right, I will sell more of it. I will promote it more. People will catch on to it more. People will be, hey man, this one's good. This is the best version. And we sell more of it. And so we have no problem with others copying the recipe, because it just means more great records. And the more great records, the more people, it's just like good food or good drugs or something. You know what I mean? You get them hooked on the best. You play something that blows them away, they're hooked for life.
Right. What's on
you play them some shit, and they're not going to be accustomed. Then they're not going to get into the hobby.
Exactly. What's on your ideal wish list of things you'd like to reissue if there were no druthers?
Oh man, I mean, every Beatles, Zeppelin, that everything that Pink Floyd, like the real obvious that people call us every day asking for. But we're pretty happy that we were able to do 3 SACDs with Pink Floyd, the Dark Side and Wish You Were Here and Animals and then we did the Roger Waters Muse to Death. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on my wish list, and some of it may be coming true soon. But we got 75 killer Atlantics to do. It's a lot of records. I've got to really concentrate on those, make them the best that they can possibly be. Keep comparing, keep working on the jacket. So the Atlantic 75 for 75 series, that's huge right now. And then the Steely Dan Asia UHQR, this is huge. I mean, people are really, really, buying the hell out of this. And, and then the contemporary that we're doing some more Art Pepper, the more Shelly Manne. So we got another series coming. We got all those Atlantic coming. We got more Verve coming. And we've got some stuff up our sleeve. We reinvest every dollar we get in trying to improve, either get titles that people want or improve the quality of the equipment we have, or just always trying to grow and improve. And that's what we do.
Thanks so much for letting me pick your brain. And Chad is recovering from what I recovered from a few months ago, a broken ankle. His was broken a long time ago, and he's kind of dealing with the post effects. So keep Chad in your thoughts and in your prayers. And I know I'll see you soon at the next show.
Yeah. No, we can't wait. We got a lot of stuff coming. Expona's around the corner. Got more news to share. I think I shared about as much as I can, which is a little bit. And when we can confirm it, I appreciate. I know you're a big jazz guy. I know you friends with Fred. We love Fred. The thing is we do a lot of jazz, man. We got a lot. We got the Coltrane's. My favorite Coltrane is Coltrane Plays the Blues, but Giant Steps and My Favorite Things aren't that far away, and they sound amazing.
And next up will be Giant Steps.
Giant Steps and My Favorite Things and Stone Temple Pilots Core is March.
Okay. But thank you so much for letting me pick your brain and ask, some of these people, questions can be just a reason for them to complain about something. But there were some good questions in there. So, man, just
there was good questions, and I mean, we had a few defects on the Atlantic, but I mean, like that, you press 4,000 records, you can't, they're not going to all be perfect. Some people expect a CD.
Exactly, because they grew up with CDs.
Like a lot of people talk about those ERCs that are $300 or $400.
What do you think of those off the record? Totally off the record.
I mean, you can put it on the record. I really haven't listened to them, but we use the original master tape. We use Kevin Gray. We have great plating. We have a great pressing plant. We use Stoughton. I can't believe that theirs would be better than what we're doing, and ours are only $40.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's sort of like people think they want to get the unobtainium. I don't know how many people even listen to some of these titles that cost so much money. It's weird. There's this collector's mentality.
All right, dude. Well, thank you so very much, man. And remember, we do a lot of jazz, man. So we should maybe do this more often.
It's fine with me. I still have to review all the ones you were kind enough to send me. And man, just try to get your rest. Tell your minions to do all your work. You need to take it easy for a while,
I have been, but
Good.
I appreciate the thought, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
I'll be praying for you. Hang in there, Chad. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.